What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Project Bronze 114. Today we're doing a tidy up or cleanup, if you will, of the rear of the motorcycle, specifically getting rid of the stock Harley Davidson license plate mounting bracket. Nothing wrong with it. It works perfectly fine. It just looks goofy and I'm tired of the look and constantly bumping into it. So we're getting rid of this, replacing it with a custom dynamics mounting bracket that will essentially go in like this and really clean up the look of the back of the bike. So stick around and learn with me. So step one of this install is to undo these two bolts, and there's two more on the other side as well. This will loosen up a little bracket that's just up on the inside. I would show you, but the camera lighting is bad. These are a T45. So this is the bracket that I was talking about. It is worth noting that this little bend right here is indicative, I can't talk today, of the direction it's supposed to face. So the bend faces towards the front of the bike. All right, continuing on, now that we have this bracket out, one thing that I always like to do is I'll screw the screws back into where they're supposed to go, so I know exactly where to put them when I'm reassembling. And for now, I'm just gonna kind of put it with the bracket that it's supposed to belong to. So next step that we need to do is you're gonna come over here, and because I also got the lighted license plate bracket, I'm going to need to remove this bolt and this bolt to get this cover off, to get at the stock wiring, to hardwire the license plate frame onto the bike. So one thing that I did not mention, because I forgot myself, is that there is a bolt underneath here, right behind this plastic piece. That's just the same Torx bit that you've been using, T45. So as you can see, I managed to get it off. However, I was confused. This is not plastic. This is machined aluminum, and a very nice piece of machined aluminum, I might add. So anyway, I digress. Moving on, that is a T40 bolt that you'll have to undo in order to loosen up the license plate bracket and the turn signal. All right, quick update. So I did a little bit of messing around with wires from the license plate bracket. White is hot, black is ground or negative, according to what the instructions are saying. And as best as I can gather, the black that's on the connector for the OEM light switch or light bracket, the black should also be ground or negative, and the blue should be hot. Not entirely certain what the center wire is. I'm assuming that just completes the circuit. But looking at the way the two connectors mate, the connector that's on the right, or the prong that's on the right side of the connector, should be ground. The prong on the left side of the connector should be hot. So what I've done is, let me show you real quick. What I've done is I went ahead, completely took apart the light bracket, which, by the way, it's held in place with two screws. This little cover just sits like that. Two screws right there, T25. Nothing fancy, nothing special. The light looks like that, stock. And I went ahead and cut it right around there, so I have more than enough space to play with in the wiring harness and the light there. So what I'm gonna do, it's probably not gonna work because of the way that the wires are running, is I'm going to try my best to figure out exactly which one along this path is hot and which one is ground. I'll let you know how it goes. But in the meantime, I did go ahead and get the driver's side bracket installed. I know it looks kind of funky right now because it's obviously not tight, but that's a general idea of how it's going to look when it's finished. Okay, so my original theory of the lights was actually backwards. Let me show you real quick. I got it working. So originally, like I was mentioning, I thought that the black one was ground and the blue one was hot. So, I mean, it probably is, and I'm just reading the instructions backwards. But for me personally, what I had to do is, if this makes sense, great. If it doesn't, but I wired the black one to the white lead, and the blue lead to the black lead. So obviously right now they're still kind of bare wires, and I'm gonna try and find my soldering iron, but it's kind of hard to focus. But as you can see, this white wire is wired up to the black, and this black wire is wired up to the blue. So, I mean, I got it working. I'm happy with it. So right now, I just need to tidy everything up and make it look all pretty, track down my soldering iron, and tin these ends, just so they don't come apart ever again, unless I intentionally cut them off like I did this time. So if I can find my soldering iron, I'll show you how I do that. If not, then I'm probably just going to electrical tape it for now. Not the right answer, I know, but it'll be a solution for now. So I was able to find my soldering iron. Turns out it was in the bottom of my desk. So I'm just getting myself situated here. I'm probably not going to be able to show you the process of soldering, but more or less what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, let's see if I can do this one-handed. I guess this works. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my solder, put some on the actual, no, correction, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to first heat up the wires, just a little bit, not too much. Then I'm going to take some solder, put it on the tip of the soldering iron, and then kind of gently touch the tips and transfer the solder over. I'll try and set up the video so you can watch, but no guarantees that it's going to look decent. So, all right, so I don't have any video of the actual soldering process for these two wires. I tried setting it up on that the container for my soldering iron. Didn't really work out too well, so I'm just going to forego showing you how to solder. If you have any questions for how to do it, you could probably look something up on YouTube. But yeah, that's all I do for my wiring is I tin them together, and I'm just going to cover them up with a little bit of electrical tape, just kind of help try and protect them from the elements, protect them from getting damaged or crushed anywhere underneath the bike while I'm, come on, focus, while I ride it. So I'm just going to do one more quick test. No. Make sure it's all running. Yep, we're good. All right, I'll clean up the bike, clean up the wiring, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. So it's been quite a while since I finished cleaning up the wiring and putting everything back together. Several weeks, in fact. But to sum up what I did, I put the wiring back up underneath this piece of aluminum, tidied everything up, taped everything back up underneath this piece of aluminum it's supposed to be. Put the bolt back in place, bolted everything back up, cleaned it up. The wiring isn't exactly the greatest. Sorry for the bad lighting, but essentially all I ended up doing was I taped the excess wiring up underneath. Seems to be holding so far. Electrical tape isn't bad, but yeah, that's what it looks like, all cleaned up, all tidied up. I ended up taking an angle grinder to the original bracket. For now, it's not exactly very elegant, but it does the job. I still need to clean that up a little bit better. But yeah, I'm super happy with how this turned out. I highly recommend it. I've had zero issues with it so far over the past several weeks that I've been using it. It really cleaned up the look of the bike. Next thing that I need to do is I'm going to actually end up replacing this little front fairing bit that Harley did for it. It works, it's just I'm getting tired of the wind. So yeah, I'm currently looking at the Paul Yaffe, I think it is, Sharknado fairing. That's going to be about more than I care to admit, honestly. But that's what I'm looking at for that. Then the other thing that I'm looking at possibly doing is replacing the fuel tank with the fuel tank from the Fat Boy or one of the other cruisers, because this little 3.5 gallon tank just ain't doing it for me. But that's projects for down the road. As of right now, 5 out of 5 would recommend Custom Dynamics license plate relocation bracket. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.